Hi, welcome to whatever this is. I'm your host, this guy, and today we're going to be talking about just all the shit about Michael Knowles. We're just going to talk about Michael Knowles right now. In case you were unfamiliar with what happened this past weekend, CPAC happened, and CPAC is, if you could just imagine like a meeting of let's just say people who are bigoted and awful. Yeah, that works. It's a meeting of people who are bigoted and awful, and more like of a cabal, less than just a meeting. But it is a event where a bunch of conservatives get together and talk about ways they can just kind of more or less ruin the country. And this year's the keynote, the highlight was anti-trans legislation. You had Donald Trump talking about anti-trans stuff. You have Marjorie Taylor Greene talking about anti-trans stuff. And then, of course, you have, which is what the focus of the video is about, Michael Knowles talking about his anti-trans shit.
There can be no middle way in dealing with transgenderism. It is all or nothing. If transgenderism is true, if men really can become women, then it's true for everybody of all ages. If transgenderism is false, as it is, if men really can't become women, as they cannot, then it's false for everybody too. And if it's false, then we should not indulge it, especially since that indulgence requires taking away the rights and customs of so many people. If it is false, then for the good of society, and especially for the good of the poor people who have fallen prey to this confusion, transgenderism must be eradicated from public life entirely. The whole preposterous ideology at every level.
Wow. Just mask off. Not even pretending to, not even, okay. Yeah. So that's genocide. That is genocide. At least that's what most people would say that would consider, intelligent, would say that would be genocidal. And yet, there's one person who disagrees with us. That guy who said the thing.
I made the point that if you want women to have their own bathrooms, if you think women ought to be able to have their own locker rooms and not have to look at gigantic, gross men while little girls are getting changed, if you want any of those things, you have to ban transgenderism entirely. It's not enough to say, well, you have to wait until you're 12 or whatever people are saying now. It has to be the whole thing, because if men have the right to behave as women and identify as women for the purposes of public life, then women can't have their own spaces. And we as a society cannot have our own standards and norms, and we're not allowed to live according to reality. We have to live according to the delusions of these troubled people. And I think we, the people, have a right to reality. And I think women have a right to their own spaces. And so that means you got to ban the thing entirely. And oh my goodness, what these people say. They said that I was calling for the extermination of transgender people. They said I was calling for a genocide against, I said, what? I must have missed that part of my show. When did I say that?
Yeah, I wonder why people thought it was genocidal. Can we roll back what he also said at CPAC one more time?
Transgenderism must be eradicated from public life entirely.
Now, I could just be some dumb guy on the internet, but it sounds like when you say you want to eradicate transgenderism, you can't do so without eradicating transgender people. But you also said that transgender people aren't real people, which is one of the steps that leads to genocide, the dehumanization of a marginalized group, right? That makes it easier to get rid of them because they're not people, they're not human, their lives are worthless. And yet, you seem to take offense to not the idea behind it, but the literal wording of it, because you didn't say transgender people, you said transgenderism. Weird. Okay, so let's try that game. I think that we should get rid of Knowles Not Michael Knowles, just the concept of Knowles. Anyone who has the last name of Knowles, we should just eradicate that concept. We should eradicate that identity. Is that okay to say? I'm not advocating for anything bad to happen to this person, of course. I'm just saying people who fall under that distinction should have things taken away from them. Because if he's just mad about the literal language used, that's not that big of a deal, my guy. You're still pretty much saying that you want transgender people to be eradicated. Like, that is genocide. Like we stated before, you cannot dehumanize a group of people by saying they're not people, and therefore they cannot be genocided against. That is genocidal rhetoric. And him and a lot of other conservatives are trying to be, oh, well, you know, he never said that. He never did these things. But you guys, he has a clear pattern. He's a pattern of this. And I did some research into Michael Knowles, and I was like, why is this guy so angry? Then I found out that he, like most people on the right-wing side of things, is a failed actor. Either, you know, that's kind of how it works. And he works for Daily Wire, which is funny because he was another failed person trying to get into Hollywood, and Ben Shapiro. But that's kind of how it goes. They are into one field, are terrible at it, and then get plopped into right-wingism. Tucker Carlson also tried to be, you know, the guy, sucked at it, fell into the right-wing side, and now he has the most popular news program in the country. Ben Shapiro tried to get into Hollywood, I believe, as a screenwriter. Failed. Now he has Daily Wire. And now he can produce his own awful, awful movie starring Gina Carano, which I think earned like $2 and a stick of gum. I'm not sure about that stick of gum, actually, but didn't do very well. Now you have Michael Knowles, failed actor, which I don't understand why, because he had such strong performances.
It's not what you think.
Not what I think. Are you fucking your brother?
No!
What? Oh, I like it when you're rough with me, pretty lady. Hmm? This is just too surreal for me.
Weird. But failed actor nonetheless, and now he's with the Daily Wire. Do you see the pattern? Oh, bonus point, you can just throw in Steven Crowder there. You mentioned failure. I'm sure Steven Crowder's name is going to be somewhere around there. Failed comedian, not funny, just... And guess what? Now he's the right-winger. A lot of people just suck at what they do and become right-wing pundits. But we're talking about Michael Knowles. Let me stay on topic for a second. The reason why I really want to focus on him today is because what he did and what he does is, I would say, more awful than the more typical conservative rhetoric, which is saying a lot, because he's not hiding it. This is the end goal for them. And it's not going to just stop with transgender people. Don't think that's going to be the case. They are trying to also revoke same-sex marriage licenses. They are going to be coming for everything. In Mississippi, they have reinstituted effectively Jim Crow laws. They in Tennessee, they have just passed bills in order to, restrict what teachers can teach, which is actually happening all across the country. We are seeing the big fascism push. We are seeing the Republicans wanting to overstep their boundaries to such a degree whereas they get to dictate how the rest of the country functions. This was always the end goal. People like Michael Knowles and saying this like that is signaling that they are at the zenith of their insanity, that they are going to places like CPAC where people can film them and post on the internet and there's no nuance. They're straight out just saying, hey, we are coming for transgender people. Next time CPAC happens, they'll probably say we're coming for gay people. Then they'll say they're coming for, minorities. Then they'll say they'll come for anyone who's not heterosexual, cis, and white. Like, that's the way this is going to break down. That is the path they're traveling. So I know this sounds very alarmist, but the alarm bells have to be ringing. Again, you have someone advocating for genocide and was not knocked down from it. You can't both sides this anymore. There is no moderate space allowed here. You are either on the side that wants to destroy everything or you want to stop that. That is it. And on one more thing I want to say too is Transgender people are real people. They live lives just as complex and interesting as you or anyone else. They do not deserve to be legislated out of existence because a group of people find their very existence to be uncomfortable. Just because you don't understand something does not mean you should then seek to eradicate it. You would think we'd learn these lessons from, I don't know, history or the just bevy of media we have that teaches that same lessons from childhood to adulthood. But I guess it bears repeating. Things that are different from you are not inherently bad. And if your first reaction is to destroy those things, you need to take a look at yourself and see, why did you care so much? Because I'll give you, it might be a bomb dropped here, but transgender people have always existed in all cultures throughout history. They've always existed, and society has progressed still. Just like how homosexual people have existed, black people have existed, all minorities have existed since forever, and the world has evolved. Society moves forward. They're not destroying the fabric of society. You know what is destroying the fabric of society? Insurrection of a democratic process. That's what's destroying society. Hate crimes, destroying society. Literally climate change, destroying the planet. Those are issues that we should really be focusing on. Trying to legislate the existence of a certain group of people should not be anywhere on anyone's radar. The only time we should be talking about transgender people is in terms of what we can do to help them. Because this world is so hostile to them that you have kids who are, committing suicide at insane rates just because other people find them different. That is insane. How is this the country you want to inhabit? How is this a future you want for your children or anyone's children? Let's leave this on a more of a, less somber note. Here's more of Matthew Knowles' acting reel. Just, have at it.
Maybe if you stopped whacking off to Lara Croft every once in a while, left the house, you would get some adventure.
Holy shit, this is like a little bit.
You get out of here, please!
You can.
I haven't really found my thing.
You're in.
Barotenor. I damn near killed him. Who is she? It's like a stock joke.
Oh, that does not mean anything, okay?
Sometimes I wish the elderly would just die.
Ooh.
So, you want to go out after we wrap this up? Maybe have some sex?
Ew, what?
Don't
Strong.
make me show a hoe.
Listen, man, there's no need for that. She'll make it up to you. Let it slide, baby.
Is that a threat?
That's a promise, sucker.